Welcome to She Means Business, Building and Scaling with Visionary Women, the podcast where bold ideas find success. Hosted by Dr. Myrrha Satow, a successful entrepreneur. Each episode dives into the journeys of trailblazing women who have turned their dreams into thriving businesses. From startups to scaling success, these female founders share their stories, struggles, and strategies to inspire and empower women to chase their own dreams. Whether you're just starting out or ready to take your venture to the next level, this podcast is your guide to breaking barriers and redefining leadership. Let's rise together.
Welcome to this episode of She Means Business. I'm so excited to have with us today Isabel De Sousa. She's a fabulous entrepreneur. She's the founder of Akaila brands. She's in the fashion industry, and she carries a brand by Saks and Nordstrom, featured in Vogue magazine. She has a rare triple major in economics, marketing, and management, and she blends academic expertise with real-world experience to help product-based businesses scale sustainably. She began consulting informally when friends sought her advice, quickly discovered her passion for supporting entrepreneurs. Her approach combines data-driven strategies, creative marketing, and a deep understanding of market behaviors. She shares insights on brand development, e-commerce, growth, and enjoys joining podcasts like ours to empower her fellow founders. So
Thank
talk to
you.
us a little bit about what you've been doing lately, what you've been up to, and how you got into this world.
The world of fashion. I think I was dragged.
Yeah.
No, the thing is that I was always that kid when I was little, always like selling things on the side, always trying to make money on the side, always hustling, always like looking for a way. And I was very feminine and I was, very young. I was playing with my mom's shoes and my mom bags and everything. So I think I was kind of like dragged into our world. And then eventually I started selling swimsuits when I was in college with one of my best friends at that time. And it was fun. I got like a lot of expertise. I do remember one day we sold to a store in Australia and we were like only like in sophomore year and everybody was just like trying to, like have fun in college and I was like, how do I open an LLC?
Oh, that's
So
great.
yeah, I think I started very young. I was sophomore and now I'm 30, so it has been a quite long journey.
So you got this triple major in economics, marketing, and management. That's impressive. My son's studying economics, and it's hard. So you did all three, like the trifecta.
Yeah, I think I've always been like a high achiever for some reason. I don't know why I did that, but like I do remember my advisor in college one day. She was like, what do you want to do? I was like, oh, I want to do this triple major, and she's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just a high achiever in so many senses. So yeah, I think that definitely helped me out. I think definitely gave me a perspective on how money works and how can you allocate your funds correctly and all of that. But honestly, I think 90% of the things I know today, I learned through, the work field. Not
And not so much through a degree.
I did in college, yes, but I think there's a quite disconnection when it comes to books versus implementation. Um,
So how
so
did you
yeah.
bridge that gap from when you graduated school to going out into the world of work and starting on your own? How did you make that transition?
So essentially what happens is then as soon as I ended up college, I started working in the banking industry and then I was working for a little while in the marketing industry. And I kind of like stopped doing my thing for a while because I held my normal job and everything. And then by the end of 2020, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like start it all over again. It was not with swimsuits anymore. I started like doing clothing because the thing about the swimsuits is that is very like cyclical product, but it's not a product you can sell all year round. So essentially for me like started like selling clothing was way much easier because it's something you can like sell all year round and of course it's way much easier when it comes to cash flow.
What are some of the most common growth mistakes that you see product-based businesses make?
I think a lot of people I think it's really two things. First, they focus too much on the product in the sense that they don't have like a storytelling behind, and the brand doesn't feel like personal or anything like that. To give you an example, on every single order we ship, without like this podcast, this postcard that has essentially the story of the brand, how I started, like a little bit of inspiration over there. So you need to like tell a story. It's not just like, oh, buy my shirt, right? And
Right.
also, I think the product-based world is so saturated that some people never start because they try to reinvent the wheel. You cannot reinvent the wheel. I mean, it comes to a point that they start to like make it like so complicated that the general public doesn't understand. So I think your product should be like easy, like to spread the message. Like, what is it about it? What does it solve, and why you? And instead of like, trying to do like all of these complicated things that at the very end are impossible.
Okay, so say that again. I think you said something really profound, and this must come from your marketing background. And it's so important, all about this branding. You said there were three things. What were they
Yeah.
again?
So basically, people need to understand what gap are you solving in the market, why you're different, and why
Okay.
should I buy from you. So, I mean, essentially, it's not trying to reinvent a wheel with like a product that doesn't exist or anything, or make it like extra complicated for the general public because people are basically living like busy lives, right? You really have they have like a very like short attention span. So how are you gonna capture that customer?
How do you capture that customer? How does that work for you? How have you been successful?
Well, that's it. Yeah, thank you. So we basically focus on limited edition collections. We don't mass produce, so we're basically not competing with the Zara. We're not competing with the Shein. We're not competing with anything like that. And also, meaning you won't have the same product all over again and walking around with like five people wearing the same. And then the second part of it is that we do work with a lot of non charities and non-profit organizations, meaning that sometimes we do collaborations with them via product, other times via charities. So basically, if you buy from us, you're not necessarily getting a tax refund like directly from us, but you're doing a good to the world. So, that's of course like something that matters, and it's woman owned. So
That's the best
that's
part.
also an I one. Yeah.
So, how do you use data to inform the decisions that you make with your marketing strategies and getting your brand out there?
Yeah, so essentially, we don't manufacture according to trends itself, because if you manufacture according to trends as a fashion brand, your competition in that field is too high. So we basically stick to a core that basically can be, let's say, florals, or let's say ballet core, or let's say country club core, or something like that. And we stick to that and we launch collections according to that. We don't compete directly with trends because if we compete directly with trends, it's basically impossible because we're very new in the market and we don't have those big budgets that other people
Sure.
probably have. And the second one I would say is manufacture and sell what you know is gonna sell. Just because somebody else is, I don't know, selling jeans and it's working for them doesn't mean that you have the market for that.
Right.
So don't go crazy and don't expand your product line just because like somebody else is doing it. Um, that way it's easier to allocate your funds correctly because that way you know that what you're doing is actually has a customer. So instead of like playing too much around.
I love that. I think these ideas are really
Yeah.
good for people out there who are just getting started. Really
Yeah.
appreciate you
Thank you.
sharing some of these little nuggets because they're really good. Um, can you walk us through your favorite growth framework or a tool that you think more founders should be using?
Um, I think there's two misconceptions, and is that a founder needs to be doing like reels on social media and like, showing up like, I don't know, in my case, if I can be the founder of the brand and I can be like spending my day doing a reel on how to you wear a skirt like three ways, or I can step out, see the big picture and focus on the things that are actually going to be income generating activities. So going back to your question, I think as a founder, you should focus on what is income generating activities and outsourcing the rest. you cannot do it all at the same time. So my favorite tool would be outsourcing correctly. Because if you try to do everything at the same time, if you try to like package your orders, if you try, especially when you're scaling, if you try to package your orders and if you try to be also like the social media influencer and you try to be also the person that's doing like your integrations on the website and you try to do be the photographer as well, I mean, yes, it comes to a point that everything is gonna like fall apart. At the beginning, I get it. You're doing the most of the things, but your job as a founder is to remove yourself from the equation and basically get systems that are working for you and not against you. Because let's face it, what is the reason why you're starting a business, right? To create a company that runs, not your job that you need to be like, micromanaging every single stage of it.
I think that's a hard lesson for a lot of leaders and founders out there is being able to sort of delegate that work to others once you do grow and scale, and having confidence in the folks that you've given that authority to help run it.
I think there's so much power in being humble and understanding that hiring people that is smarter than you is not a threat.
I love it.
So it's actually gonna help you out. It makes no sense to be micromanaging everybody and just like asking, you did this, you did that. No, just give me a deadline and then revise all of those and lead by example. That's basically it.
So I have to ask you, this is totally
Yeah.
unrelated to all of the scaling and building and marketing, but I have to ask you, what was it like being featured in Vogue magazine?
Oh, it was amazing. Believe it or not, I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I got featured on Vogue magazine. Um, but I'm very private about those things. I don't like to like, talk too much about them because some people feel that you're bragging or something. But yeah, that was probably one of the biggest milestones. Not the biggest, but one of the highlights of last year for sure. This year we got fixed feature on Glamour magazine actually. And you know what the
How
craziest
exciting.
part? Yeah, you know what the craziest part is? When I started, I remember going to meetings and trying to work with like these PR companies to basically get us placements and all of that. And it came to a point where like the magazine started contacting us. And I was like, oh, I should be doing something correct. You know,
That's great.
it's
You are doing something right for
thank you.
sure. That's amazing. How fun. When do you get to do Glamour magazine?
Uh,
When can we find you?
we got featured, I think it was last month, if I'm not wrong. Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
Great. Well, we'll have to look for that. So, you've built a brand that stands out in a saturated market. You've managed to do that. You talked about not reinventing the wheel, not trying to compete with those big companies like Shane or some of these big organizations. And you've managed to build a brand that does exactly that. It stands out. So, what advice do you have for other entrepreneurs who are trying to carve out their own space?
Just don't get advice from somebody that didn't build anything because it gets lonely, right? And there's not a lot of people that like make it somewhere when they're trying to build something in a business or whatever. And since it gets lonely, we tend to essentially ask questions and opinions from people that is in different fields, from people that probably don't run a business, from people that, they're just you have many types of friends around you. And unfortunately, I think you shouldn't get advice from somebody that is not in your field or didn't build anything similar or anything like that. And also don't compare yourself to anybody else because when you started, if you're bootstrapping, if you're getting like regular like credit lines to start a business or something like that, and you don't have like a big investment fund like it's gonna give you like I don't know like 10 millions and go from there, your process looks way different for you than it might look for somebody else. So, and remember, like everybody's just showing like the final result. Nobody's showing you the process. There's very few people out there that shows the process, and the beginnings are hard and terrible. And I wouldn't recommend if you have a 9 to 5, if you have something that is secured. Me, as even if I'm a risk taker and everything, I wouldn't recommend you to leave your 9 to 5 to start like all over somewhere else. I mean, leave it, yes, at some point, but like go gradually. Don't go crazy.
That's so interesting because I we've had a lot of folks on this show talk about that very concept. Like, should you be all in or should you kind of keep your day job,
Yeah, I
as you're
think
starting out as
yeah.
an entrepreneur? And I can kind of see both sides to that.
I think
Do,
you can keep your day job to a certain point for sure, but I think especially well, I don't know. I think men and women are different, and I think probably like men sometimes they handle stress a little bit better than us because we're more emotional. And I think that honestly, leaving your 9 to 5 from one day to another and getting that uncertainty like this, and you have bills to pay, and you have like a mortgage, a car, I don't know what else. Um, I think it's good to have like that ground for a little while till you test the waters and go like that. When I'm saying test the waters and see if it works out or not, I'm not saying you're gonna like do that for like 7 years and then eventually, oh, maybe it's time to leave my 9 to 5. No, like do it for like an actual amount of time, like what, two
yeah.
years, 1 year, whatever it is, or like even 3 years.
You're doing a side hustle, because I think a lot of people do.
Yeah,
They get passionate about their side
for
hustle, and
sure.
that's what takes them on their journey of
Yeah.
entrepreneurship
I think
sometimes.
everybody knows the time they can leave and everybody knows the right time
Yes.
for them, their finances and everything. But I would definitely recommend like doing it gradually unless you get like a good investment, unless you feel,
Yeah.
a little bit more safer on that side. However, if you're like using your 9 to 5 to fund your company itself, I wouldn't recommend doing that at the beginning stages at all.
So, how do you personally stay inspired while you're doing all of this work? And how do you stay creative while you juggle sort of the demands of scaling and consulting and all of the things you do?
Look, I think everything is hard and everything is hard to some extent. Just choose your hard. I deal okay with
Did you
stress.
say choose your hard?
Yeah, of
Is
course.
that what you said? I love
Yeah.
that.
No, because
I
it's
love
true.
that.
Like, look, what is having a regular job is hard. Running a company is hard.
Yeah.
Just choose yours. It's life. So
I love
it's
that.
not like a crazy deal, right? So for me, creativity comes and goes in waves, in waves kind of thing. Um, but when it comes to a high demanding job or a high demanding or how demanding can it be to run a company or whatever it is, it's just like I deal very good with stress. I don't. There's certain things that you cannot control. If you cannot control, then let it go, I would say. I think I learned this like the hard way because there was times where I was very burnout. But it's just that. It's just if I'm awake, I'm working. Like period, like and that's basically it. I don't think it's hard at all, at all. I mean, it's just like part of life and you deal with it.
Wow. I think you're just wired to be an entrepreneur
Maybe.
because I love that you say, when I'm awake, I'm working. I think that's kind of a prerequisite for the job, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think these days actually it's a little bit easier with all the technology we have around. I do think because you can take meetings basically almost everywhere. You can basically do a lot of things from your phone. And as long as you have a system and you delegate like certain things and tasks, that's amazing. Of course, I don't believe there's such a word as balance. I don't think that word exists. I think it's just priorities. It's impossible to have like this perfect like Instagram routines. I wake up at 5 a.m. and I have like a 3 hour workout and then I meditate for like 30 minutes. I think it's impossible. There's days where you can accommodate everybody and everything, and that's beautiful, amazing, good for you. And there's days where your workout is gonna look like 20 minutes. There's days you need to like allocate more, more time for your significant other because he needs you. There's days you have family. There's always like priorities and you kind of like try to match them, but I don't think you should stick yourself into a box and say, this is how my day is going to look like, because it's impossible. I mean, you need to juggle
Oh
it
my gosh.
around, you know?
I just love you. This is amazing. I've never heard anyone put it that way. There's no balance. There's
Yeah,
priorities.
it's priorities. It's just like how whatever you can do, it's
That's so true. And
yeah.
you're so forgiving of yourself and you're so like chill.
Thank
I
you.
I just want to follow you around every day in your in your world and get some of
I'm
that
not
chill.
I'm not that chill. People often tell me that I'm a straight arrow in the sense that like I'm like we're going from A to B and this is how we're going to do it and that's I'm not if I say that I'm going to do it, I'm definitely going to do it. Like, I think that's the best way of putting it. Yeah.
What fantastic leadership
Thank
qualities.
you so
I think
much. I
that's
try.
amazing. Do you have a piece of advice that you wish that you had had when you were just starting out? And what would you tell other women who are out there trying to build and scale their businesses from the ground up?
Since this podcast is for women itself, I think I wish somebody told me that you can still be feminine and you can still be a girl regardless of running a company.
Oh, I love you.
Because when I started, like even like from family members, I got that, and people around me was like, "Oh, you're gonna become like a man. Nobody's gonna like stand you, you know?" And I was like, "Why? And you should be less loud. You're so problematic. Like, why do you talk so much?" So, it's that's some kind of like limiting belief or like misconception or something. You can still have a feminine energy and you can still be a girl
You
regardless
can.
of this job you're running. It's just switching places and it's just like turning off your brain for a little while. I'm not the same person when I'm running a meeting with people I work with versus while I'm home. I mean, it's just like you change your roles, but as long as you're able to disconnect yourself from one to another, you're good to go. That's
How do you manage those types of comments when you hear them, whether they're from your family members
I
or
think I'm over
colleagues?
them. I'm completely over them
You're
because
over them.
I'm over I'm
So
over
what do you
them.
say? What do you say when they say that?
I'm over them because it was like honestly like when I started like years ago and it was because they didn't see me like, balancing it out, whatever, but I think it has nothing to do with your job and I think it's more like a personality thing and I think as long as as long as you understand like the energy you're bringing into and you know how to do those shifts, like mindset shifts, you're good. I mean, I don't think that's any kind of problem at all.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about Akaila or your work or where you see yourself in the next couple years? Anything else you'd like to tell our listeners?
In the next couple of years, I want to do international expansion. I think one of the goals I have is like to go on vacation somewhere and go into a department store and be on vacation and say, "Oh, look, that's my brand over there." I think that's one of my biggest like dreams, or maybe like being a mom and taking my kids to one of the photo shoots and my kids saying, "Oh, she's so cool. My mom's so cool."
I love
I
it.
think that could be like two of my biggest dreams. Um, and a thing I want to say about Akalia, it's we're launching new collection in about 2, 3 weeks. So yeah, that's basically it.
How exciting.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you so much. Thank
And
you so
where
much.
can our listeners and viewers find you after the podcast?
You can find me. Well, I have a professional account, I would say, on Instagram. Um, that is, my name is Isabel De Sousa. And you can find me also under the account of Akalia Official, which is the brand itself. And yeah, that's basically it.
That's wonderful. Well, it has been an absolute joy and pleasure to have you on our show today.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you very much for the invite. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of She Means Business, Building and Scaling with Visionary Women. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Once again, we're glad you joined us, and we hope you'll come back for the next episode of She Means Business, Building and Scaling with Visionary Women. Until next time.